Huh.
Hey guys, it's Dane at Jonah Guitars, and I got a brand new build series I'm going to start uploading. It's about this guy right here, the GECKO, and all of the whole process of building will be covered. It's going to be a very complete series. So I hope you join me, and we'll see you there. Hey guys and gals, got 4 coats of the oil on here, and it's dried overnight, and feels pretty dry to the touch, so I don't think we'll have any issues with going on to the wax at this point. I'm just going to use just tree wax. Get the English facing forward here for my English speaking, and then the Espanol for those folks that are so enlightened. Tree wax, got carnauba in it. What I'm going to do is just kind of smear some wax all over it, and then I'm going to buff it with my buffer and see what that does. I think it'll be good. And so here we are. Filling up my tuner holes, if nothing else. I'm going just right up to the heel here. I'm not going to get into this area here. I will go over here where I'm not gluing anything. But I don't even want to get a little bit possibly up there where I might get into the glue joint. You can't see out there. Just doing the end of the headstock here. And then we'll roll it over, get this edge. I love an oil and waxed neck. They just feel so amazing. Makes me want to take any instrument that I've ever lacquered a neck on and strip it. In fact, I've got one instrument I didn't build a neck on. A Telecaster that was a butcher block table Telecaster, and I bought a neck because I was just trying to keep the cost of the instrument down, which I'm going to pull that neck. I actually only did I did a satin, just a spray can satin finish on that neck. And but I'm gonna it's a little fat, that neck is, and I'm going to excuse me, I'm going to resize that neck, and I'm gonna do a fret level and dress on that. I think I just kind of polished them up when I got it, and I was going to play it and see how it was, and it's not that good. So I'm gonna do a fret level on that. And then I'm also going, like I said, resize it. I think it's fat enough and deep enough that I can put a V in that neck, and that's what I'm going to try to do on that one. That's kind of a different oddball thing, so I'll get it on film. All right, so I'm going to let that sit for probably 10-15 minutes, and then I'm going to buff it. And meanwhile, I will turn you guys off. All right, I'm going to rebuff the face of this since it's had oil smudges and stuff on it. and then I'll buff the wax. I am still going to use the fine grit buffing. Well, I'm not going to put any on it, and there's bound to be some on there, but we'll just going to have wax on it now. Well, I'm just going to get all the dust off of there, and then we'll be all set. It's pretty nice looking. Yep, so next stop is gluing it in the body. Alright, so I'm just going to do a little prep, get ready for the glue up. You can see where I had it taped off there, and so we've got areas here with nice clean wood. Just gonna do a quick sand here just to make sure I'm nice and clean. Get up right here to the edge. I'm not super worried if I sand over a little bit. I'm being careful, but I can always touch up if needed, so not a huge deal. There we go. Not worried about taking too much off the bottom. I would have to do something, a lot of sanding to take too much off the bottom. A little more critical sanding the sides, because you've got the, this is the tenon going into the mortise, and we want that to remain, pretty snug. And I also am going to be sanding the pocket side of things, the mortise side of things, so we're not going to get crazy with it. Last time I had it fit in there, it was pretty snug still, so I'm not terribly worried either. Alright, I'm going to move the camera over to the other side of the bench and do the same thing to the mortise. Get the glue pot hooked up. I've decided to go with hot hide glue on this joint. I'll explain that more in a minute. Okay, so over here on the guitar side of the bench, and I'm just getting into the pocket here. And I'm just cleaning it up because I'm sure that in the process of all this stuff I've been doing here, I've gotten smudges of oil or something in the pocket. I want to make sure it's nice and clean. I will be doing a dry fit. I don't know how much of that I'm going to do on camera. I did it all. Basically, it's a double check of where I was before, right? So just to make sure that my bridge is still in the right place. It shouldn't change, but stuff is always happening in guitar building. You can see the neck pocket's still very snug. I can move it if I yank on it, but I'll get some dust down here. I think that's dust, yeah. Hoping it's not a chip. Well, I'll do it right now. I think I can do this. It looks like I'm tight in the pocket over here. So I'm trying to figure out how, when I glue this, I want to be able to make sure that I can pull this up against the upper bout as I glue. So I mean, I'll get it in, clamp it here. Looks really good. All the mating surfaces look real clean. Clamp it here. Well, I don't have to worry about it if it's as good as it is right now. If it wants to, you know, slide back this way, so you can pull it this way because you don't have anything backing it up right on the opposite side. And if it wants to slide that way, then I'm going to have to figure something out. So I'll have something already in the works, hopefully, for clamping that. I could do that without damaging the lacquer. This adds a bit of a, you know, extra concern when you're doing an oil neck into a lacquered body, right? So you can't just glue everything together and then do the finish, or you could, but you'd be, you know, you'd have to tape everything off and fiddle fart with that the whole time. So try to avoid that, but it does complicate things on the glue up. Obviously, if it wasn't finished yet, I could just clamp things. I wouldn't have to worry about, you know, marring the body a little bit or whatever, because all that can be sanded out before you finish. So, main thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to grab a straight edge and I'm going to run it down the side of the neck, make sure it lines up, you know, good on my bridge. I don't see that being a problem, but I'll double check it just in case. I say double check it just in case, but what that means is, if I'm going to have a problem with it, I'd rather know about it now, although it's a little late in the game to be fixing things. And so I'm just eyeballing where it's lining up on this bridge saddles. Down here, this saddle. Huh, interesting. I got something I need to look at right here. I've actually got a little hump in the neck right here that I need to deal with. Actually, it's pretty much right on. So not pretty much right on, it's right on, so that's good. I'm happy with that. Okay, that's not going to be an issue. All right, so I'm gonna get my glue pot going. Oh, I guess this is as good a time as I need to talk about why I'm thinking about using hide glue, or why I've decided to use hide glue. You know, we keep, few of us, some of us talk about this a little bit in our different YouTube channels, and I'm kind of at a place where I think one of the reasons that we think that aliphatic resin glues like Titebond and typical carpenter glue might be better for certain joints than hot hide glue is just because we've seen, you know, we've got all these 100-year-old instruments. I got a violin on the bench right now. That's a good example of it. That's come apart, you know, but they've had 100 years to dry out, sit in an attic or a basement, and you know, go back and forth. So it's hard to say what Titebond will be doing 100 years from now, because we really don't have that test case. So I'm going to use hot hide glue on this, because if you really want to look at the characteristics, because I'm not going to be able to tell you about it in depth, But read some of Frank Ford's stuff on hot hide glue on frets.com, and he's got charts with temperatures and things like that. Anyway, one of the main things is that hot hide glue doesn't creep. So if you did, I would hate anybody to do this to one of my instruments, but if you left the guitar in a car and it got really hot, it would take a long time before it would actually start to creep. And it probably wouldn't creep, it would just fail. Whereas the aliphatic resin glues will actually creep. So like if you've got string tension on a neck and the glue gets soft, the neck could actually start to pull up in the pocket. I did glue the fretboard with tight bond, and so there's an instance where if it got really hot, it could actually slip under string tension, and then when it cooled off, it would stay up in that bowed position. So yeah, I'm going to use I'm going to use hot hide glue in this pocket, and I'm just going to see how it works out. I think it'll be great. Also, is the and this is the T word. There's the tonal thing, and that's with hide glue drying very crystalline, glass-like. So there's no. It's just a very, very hard joint, and so any kind of transfer of vibration should be really, really solid and clean, and we're shooting for that too. And I'm not even going to get into the differences of acoustic and electric instruments, and I'm not one of those people that thinks that wood makes a huge difference in tone. I think it's a variable, but I think that's been proven. But it's nothing like it would be in an acoustic instrument. So having said all that, I'm going to use hot hide glue, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go get that cooking. Okay, I am in the process of trying to figure out where to clamp this thing so that I have access to the neck joint, and which I will have. I'm going to clamp it across the table. I have a lot of pad on the table here, and I put this paper down, it's parchment paper down, because I have laid guitars on this rubbery pad before, and it seems to leave marks in it. Newer finishes. I don't think that's such a problem with older finishes, but I don't want to deal with that right now, so I'm definitely... Now I need to also pad. I'm going to put paper here as well, and then probably just some rubber. Yeah, I actually have this sort of thing, which would work better for clamping if it were right on here, because it would grip. But like I said, I don't want to transfer. I think possibly the problem I have is that these things are kind of cross-contaminated, because I have, I've had oil, things have been oiling on them and things, just that sort of thing. Do a lot of sanding or staining, and you have a pad, and so things, like I said, cross-contaminate. And so, and this doesn't have to be clamped to the bench like I'm, jackhammering something. It just has to, the last thing you want, of course, is to have the whole thing flip over off the bench when you've got a bunch of clamps on it. And the neck. And let's see what kind of clamp we're going to use. Well, it's large enough. I might go that route. Let's see here. So it's padded, and okay, since everything's on a pad here, it wants to roll up. And purchase on the front. There we go. You can understand the last thing that you would want to do, the last thing I want to do is cause any kind of denting in the finish after all that we've gone through to get this far. Yeah. All right, so we're doing good there. Now all I got to do is probably do the same thing underneath. Good, I didn't get the clamp in the way of my drawer. Same thing underneath with a piece of pad and a piece of paper for when we actually clamp the neck in. So that'll just be under here. And that should be one clamp, straight in, straight down. Now if I do have to bring a clamp this way, it's going to get tricky. This being hide glue, I think I can clamp it in and see where it goes, and if it wants to slide, I'll just hold it until it sets, because hide glue tends to do that really rapidly. Okay, yeah, I think that'll be what we do. I'm heating the glue up here, so I think we're pretty much set there. I will do a dry run. I could go ahead and do that. Right, well, I'm going to grab a clamp. I'll turn you off for a minute. All right, I got a handful of clamps. And so, probably going to want to do this from this side. You know, this is why you do dry runs. We'll see. I've got a drawer full of pucks here. I'm not 100% sure this is necessary. I'm gonna clip a radius on this thing real quick, because underneath here on the body there's a radius, and that'll allow me to get farther into this joint with this. Okay, well, I cut that little radius in the block and it went in there pretty good, so that's what we're gonna do with it. And that's pretty good. All right, I think we're ready to roll here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up the area, and I am just using a hair dryer since I have lacquer here. I don't want a blister, and I'll heat up the pocket and the neck itself. Got all my clamp block stuff ready to roll right here handy. I did change a little bit. I'm going to use a different clamp closer to the heel, and then I'll use that squeezy Irwin quick grip out here there. So yeah, they're gonna be noisy, of course, so it's a warning. I think the main thing is it just needs to be a little warmer so that it doesn't yeah, that's warmer. Just so it's, you know, better than room temperature and we don't end up okay, here we go again. I can't talk and actually do things at the same time. You just don't want it to be cold when you're, because it'll just instantly dry this stuff out, or, you know, get it to coagulate quicker than normal even. And you just don't want to waste time with this stuff, or you have a lot more open time. And I don't know, I could talk myself out of using it probably pretty quick. So I just got a, you know, good coat on both surfaces. Put the brush back in there, and here we go. Hopefully we won't make too big a mess, because it's always going in here. It wants to scrape it off as you go in. Make sure I'm in the right place here. Oh, I really should have had a paper towel. Okay, so I'm just trying to flush the heel here in the inside of the cavity, so we're good. All right, and first clamp is back here. All right, so we're right. Oops, yeah, I had a feeling. Trying to stay above that hump. I got that little dish in the back. Yeah, it's still wanting to go out of there. So that, I didn't put any pressure on this clamp, so that probably wasn't a good idea. But we still got the original one. Looking good. Okay. Yeah, it's wanted to open up a little bit on the top end here, so I've kind of just got I'm leaning into it. So I don't have a clamp set up for that. Looks good everywhere. I did make myself a little popsicle stick with a bevel on the end of it so that I could come in here and just clean the glue off.
Dane, Scott's here.
Oh, all right.
Did you know he was coming?
Nope.
Okay.
You tell him I'll be a couple seconds.
Do you want him to, what do I do?
Well, you can just throw it in the driveway if he wants, but I'll be right out.
Okay.
Okay, it's looking pretty good. Just been cleaning up stuff here. And yeah, I'm just going to have to hang out like this for a second or two. So I'll turn this off and I'll bring you back in a little while.